overcome together as a team. Game number 2, though, and they've won game number 1. We'll see if Superstars can tie it up on this battleground.
Bringing it back.
There you go.
It's going back to normal. The balance is being restored. Maybe, I don't know. You know, again, with my original kind of, what if Dragonshire was the intent to force yourself to push a little bit harder? Yes, we did see, again, the fact that they were able to end so quick. I talked about what I would still consider a slow game, but maybe now they're just like, okay, we took our one risk. We weren't too happy with how that game played out. Just get the series over, like play our game on the maps we know, and we'll continue back to the drawing board later on this week. You know, that very much could be it too, because the Dragonshire pick was out of nowhere for this team.
Tempo Storm won insanely fast on Warhead Junction versus Superstars. So if they're looking for a quick win, this is the place to do it.
Yeah, and the best thing to focus on, I think here against Tempo Storm, if I'm Superstars, you got rid of the Illidan. Every time they're on Warhead, they always get the Illidan, who can always start the boss, that can always end the game early. Like, Illidan naturally doesn't have that much effect onto the game except for how they're playing it to end it early. It's now removing him not for the global, not for the 1v1 in Dahaka, not his skirmishing, but in fact his boss capabilities.
Yeah, Illidan on the boss and later on Illidan on the core has been a core concept of Tempo Storm in this on this battleground.
In a core concept.
Well, how else do you, a central concept, there you go, central to their plans.
You know, it's not like I actually have the ability to mock you for this. Yeah, I mean, in the world of words, I am way worse than you. So I just take any jab I can get, you know? I apologize, but sometimes you got to point it out here.
Things are getting heated on this desk. Anything else? What do you think we're going to see from Superstars on Warhead? I don't believe we've seen them play there yet. As my
If I was to get crazy, it's just like, they're going to aim for a task tracer or something alike, you know, something moving into the direction that's very skirmish heavy. But I don't view any heavy amount of cheese or anything. Superstars is hard to gauge because in the past I would have said they were all in globals because it accents the map most effectively, right? Like worry about getting the warheads, playing the slower part of the map, and abuse the global when you can. But new Superstars goes, we don't really care about the map too much. We're going to focus more on team fighting, and hopefully that works out. So I feel like it's just going to be something that is team fight focused, probably a little bit less emphasis on the globals. I wouldn't even mind an Illidan. Maybe they'd be the ones that break it out, you know?
Yeah.
Surprise us all.
Sray played Illidan in one game.
Hopefully less Qs than the last one. I feel like by now we've gotten the, okay, you don't Q on Illidan until post 16.
I wonder if Malthael will make another appearance for Yoda.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like in the last game we saw enough 1v1ing to definitely at least make an argument to match up into that, but it is a little bit weird. You know, it's a interesting thing too when it comes to the hero pools of Superstars. Maybe not the time nor the place, but it's like Yoda fills a role that doesn't exist, if that makes sense. He is the side soaker, but he's not the Illidan. How does that work? He's the off tank. He's the side lane, but when it's Illidan, then it would be Sray, right? So it's kind of, it's strange, and they aren't the only team suffering from that. All of North America actually is. It feels like we have off warrior side soakers that can kind of play ranged at times, or we have melee assassins that try to play off warriors.
Well, that does just seem to be the central struggle to a team that makes sweeping roster changes.
Yeah.
Because not only did Superstars roster change, they also role swapped Sray onto his new role. So there's some learning period for that. Bringing in a new player, they're going to play slightly different, like a lot of heroes. They might share a lot of the same, but there is going to be some differences between where they played, especially Yoda coming in because he played on Roll20 where he was playing mainly the secondary warrior. So it's just a struggle for a team when they make those kinds of changes. But they're working on it. Superstars banning Genji. Tempo Storm considering Tassadar. Can't shield the core if he's banned.
Hey. Also removes any fear of, like, again, the task tracer. All right, so what do we want here for Superstars? What do we expect them to go? If the Tassadar is going to be removed, what is that first pick? What is going to be the most reasonable? Not the Dahaka. Genji's already off the table.
You don't think it'll be Dahaka?
I'm not saying that I don't want it to be.
Okay.
Yeah, again, I feel like Yoda, I like the global game into Tempo Storm, you're just asking for the Illidan. See, now, if I'm Tempo, I don't even hesitate. I snap Illidan and then whatever hero I want with it, just to beat you.
Uther.
See, they go into the new Barak. Now it risks the Illidan variable to come up. That's the one thing that I feel like Tempo is taking a huge risk now, right? A new Barak Uther isn't that crazy, but the Dahaka Illidan, if you truly think the Illidan is core to your ability to all in one lane and start around the boss, and again, the matchup is so good, Superstars should pay attention to it.
It just does feel like Tempo Storm is way more concerned about having a noob Uther, and then if Illidan gets banned, they have other strategies, because that two-hero combo has been so prevalent really throughout all of the metas, but especially for Tempo Storm. To have Uther, they were support choked last game, probably didn't like that very much, and then they got their new Barak for either Cattle or Fury, just depending on how things fall.
We'll see what we end up seeing Superstars, excuse me, pick as their 2-3. I agree with you that like it's one of those, I'm not surprised that Tempo responds that way, and I don't think Superstars will be the team that ends up punishing it there, but I do feel like it is a huge hole to like just be like, we can let that go by every single time. Tempo Storm's not the only team doing it here, but Superstars commits to the Dahaka. They've got the Malfurion and a Falstad. So my first glance of they're going to all in on the globals, I was just wrong. They're going back to we'll stick and focus more onto maps, or maybe it's only with large maps they think that, which is so confusing because small maps are the ones you absolutely have to have the wave clear.
But it is Warhead. It's a giant battleground. And getting into position for the Warheads, for them, it gives them an advantage of being able to take one and then immediately get to position to fight for another one. So maybe they will still ban Illidan here as a way of taking away a global, but then Tempo Storm...
I mean, I don't think so, because they want it, right? I mean, if they have the opportunity to move into it, they will...
No, Superstars might ban Illidan.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Sometimes I get distracted. Falstad. Li Ming is going to be banned out. The Falstad still, to me, I feel like we're missing... I don't want to use the word cheese, because I don't think it's going to be a cheese, but there's going to be another pick that's a little weird, a little wanky. So now with Illidan gone, do we see the Arthas? Over to Tempo Storm.
I look at this and I immediately wonder if they would want to run something like a Abathur Greymane, but so, it's not really true like, how Tempo plays this.
Totally on the same page with you. I agree with you. It's like, well, Tempo, since they've become a prioritizing Warhead Junction team, it does seem like they've always loved the all-in, that singular lane, and Abathur isn't terrible with it, but he definitely isn't like a, oh yeah, no, I would need an Abathur in that style comp, right?
Yeah, especially early. Yeah. Because they want to do it as early as they can.
So when then we see that pick there, like this is like if any other team in the world was on Warhead, I'd be like, why was Abathur not picked on the top half of the ban phase, right? But now...
It's an adjustment after Illidan was banned.
Yeah. Which is, again, that kind of conversation that I was talking about. Was that worth the risk? Don't get me wrong. The Abathur Greymane, absolutely a terrifying composition. It just comes down to whether or not that was so core to Tempo Storm's approach to this map. Because, again, now do they still get the all-in as effectively? Or is suddenly the Dahaka Falstad double global problem too big to deal with?
Greymane still provides a lot of damage for bosses earlier on. So maybe they'll get just another hero that can help ensure that they can do that. Or... they'll just round things out with Tyrael.
Kick it old school. Tempo Storm, only team in North America outside of, I want to say No Tomorrow's like one game, or maybe it was an Eventic. The only one still busting out the Tyrael post mid-season brawl. Cassia, though, is picked up, and the Tyrael's taken away. There's still a lot of options for Tempo. It's not like the Tyrael is the beginning of the end here.
The Cassia. I was going over the drafts yesterday and was very interested to see that both Tempo and Even in Death banned Cassia on a bigger battleground, Sky from Even in Death, Warhead from Tempo, after their opponents had Tass, Arthas, Ariel. The exact same rotation and then the exact same ban.
Cassia, I'll tell you this much. I was no-lifing MVP Black drafts today. And one thing I did note with them, with the Cassias individually, was a lot with Illidan, was the core kind of thing. So the fact that Illidan was removed, but then Cassia was picked up, does seem a little bit counterintuitive to what we see out of the Korean counterparts.
You mean they were picking her alongside Illidan?
If they have the Illidan, they just snap her like, well, we don't want it. We don't want the counter initiation blind of a Cassia, that hyper carry counter momentum. So when you see the Illidan banned out, it's a little bit surprising because again, it's been more of like a response to the Illidan. If you intend to pick the Illidan, you ban the Cassia.
Yeah, and both Even in Death and Tempo eventually ended up picking Illidan. So that might have been where it is, even though it's weird because it literally is the same exact rotation, TAS, Arthas, Arion.
Which is why I thought that was such a weird pick, again, because I usually try and not cross-compare to some of the things that we see in other parts of the world, because NA's got its own flavor going on here. But I do at times dabble, I guess, in bringing that up. So I'm not surprised to see that carry over to NA.
If North American meta were to be a flavor of ice cream, what would it be?
It would definitely be Superman. Not because it's like heroic, but because it's just like a rainbow of just a mixture of everything.
Is Superman an ice cream?
Yeah, you've never. Maybe maybe it was that. Okay, to be fair, I'm one of those weird kids that grew up in small town type deal, and so when I view it as like, oh, it's Superman ice cream, and then it's like that's like a very local thing.
You respond with a superhero, and my brain just broke.
Okay, I'm okay. Let me put it this way. I know that there's an ice cream type. It's kind of like Swedish, like a birthday cake cotton candy level of sweet, whatever. It's like a rainbow of flavors, all kinds of bright, crazy going on. Like Neapolitan has nothing on this, right?
Okay.
And so get that. Just it's bright, it's bold. It's flashy,
like cotton candy.
But you really question how good it is at first glance, right? You're like, is this? That's why it's Superman.
I want to know what you guys at home think about that question. You can tweet using the hashtag HGC. We're examining the real hard-hitting analysis here for game number 2 between Tempo and Superstars. But we have both the drafts, so let's get into it, and we'll talk about the drafts once we're in the game. We're going to Warhead Junction for game 2.
It's getting serious. The button's coming off. We're throwing down. No Illidan, though, so now it's going to be watching Tempo's approach onto the Warhead Junction. Without that, how do they play it? Is this still all inning one lane? Is it not all inning one lane?
And how does the Cassia come into effect versus the Zeratul and the Greymane, double Greymane even? We didn't get to talk too much about Zeratul, but Zeratul is back. It's been a little bit of time.
Gilly, if you, oh man, this series is so, I got a better adjective for this.
Yeah,
but I don't have
what word
it.
is going to follow that.
Beautiful is too simple, and I don't think it encases every emotion I'm feeling right now. But I also don't think I'm a bright enough young lad to actually, number one, I don't know if I know a word that can encase all these emotions, and number two, I'm not sure if I actually just even have the ability to find it in my brain.
No words can describe its beauty.
But it is, in some unique way, got a lot of beauty to it. Just between like the way that these drafts have managed to move through, like the thing that we see with the dynamic of the Cassia and then the Zeratul to be brought back as like an old school response in the material. It's just a bit of like, very much considering some of the meta we see all other parts of the world, bringing a little bit of North America and what we hold true, and then these own teams' interpretation too. It truly feels like we have a melting pot in this series, maybe more than we've ever had before.
I felt like that with a lot of our North American teams, playing a lot of the same heroes, but then bringing in their flavor. Think Freedom's Diva.
I think I would agree that everyone has shown it a little bit more, but for some reason this team, with both these teams,
it's just hitting you today.
It's just a little bit more, yeah. I'm not saying it's even maybe an accurate statement, but I'm just feeling the goods.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
I'm very happy for you. I'm very happy that we've got Wingman once again. Halstead. And look, Tempo Storm doing their thing.
Doing the thing, focusing on one of the lanes that has a boss and trying to push it very quickly over the opponents. Greymane's very good at making sure that that can go down early. You were talking about why the Greymane up that high. Greymane is one of the best heroes in the game at getting heavy siege along with Vala, and turns out Cassie is pretty good at that too. Not as good as she originally was on release though. The nerf to her level 1.
But how does Wingman throw a wrench into Tempo Storm's plans? That's what I will be watching for. First nuke phase starting. Cassia's coming down, actually. She's going to be able to flank in. Stray on that Cassia. Zeratul Falstad fight will be up in the top for that nuke. And everyone else hanging out here in the bottom. But with the Abathur, Tempo Storm playing it patiently.
It's Warhead over Superstars.
Zeratul hasn't been able to get this yet either.
Yeah, he's not doing anything up here. Level 4's been hit, which allows Hosey to at least force teleport out of Psalm and a Vorpal back.
Man, it would be monumental for Superstars if they're able to get both of the nukes. I'm working on the words.
He just
being able to get both of the nukes.
He burnt the lightning rod though, so that's the cooldown that's most important into this 1v1 early on. Is like that is the sole thing that keeps Hosty alive. The reason why Vorpal Blade is so good against it is you teleport out, break the sustain out of the static charge, then you Vorpal on back, and suddenly you're like, no shields for you, wasted damage. But Psalm managed to get it there. I just thought that, you know, at the minute, if I can tell you this, if I'm Salt Shoes and I see a Zeratul or a false step pop that, I'm like, now's the time to fight. He has no way of dealing with me.
Tempostorm also had a new Barak sharking around too, and that was enough to scare away Hosty in a way. That Psalm could pick up that nuke, and he'll use that in the top lane. But that isn't... They're using this nuke up in the top. They've done a lot of damage to the bottom. So too are Superstars trying to do damage, but Fury's gonna come in, dives on top of the back. Iacona is just down.
Yeah, just got bodied there with the initiation and execution from Tempostorm. When 7 Talontier comes online, do we still see the Mule for Abathur, or is it in fact going to be more hat build? I'd like it to be hat build, but I can see some argument into the Mule here.
Whoops.
Whoops. Yeah.
They'll have 10 seconds to figure out what he wants.
Yeah, you get to buy a little bit of time. Oh man,
there
he does.
Is. Boomerang, still an important part of the false side build here. Hindering Moonfire once again for Iacona. Be able to add slows, allow his team to chase down members a little bit more, make sure that Cassia can get onto them too. Cassia build still what we saw before, even when she was played more before the nerf to her level 1 charge strikes.
It's a really nice initiation here from Superstars.
Take out the Mule.
But the flank from Fury up above. Scouting drone scouted it out. Burrow charge in, Iacona. I feel like I've seen this about 5 seconds before, it feels like.
This game is a broken record, but Superstars this time hoping they could change the track and take out Caterpillar. Not quite, though.
Man.
Tempostorm keeping alive their bottom 4 again.
That was some Lucio level music memes. I just
Thank
want you to know. That was pretty good. Looking to change the track. So a somber tone to this one. One they don't want to put up with here. Level 7 still got the Hindering Moonfire from Iacona. Sadly, it didn't really seem too successful in the last game, but honestly, most of the time, their team fights were just Twilight Dreams and it's over. Nobody got to see the chase or the slow attempt.
Yeah, and there were so many people with the staggered deaths that we did not have a whole lot of big team fights, and that may happen again here on this game.
There is a hero specifically on the side of Tempostorm that Hindering Moonfire is really annoying to deal with, and that is your man right here, Psalm.
We're looking at him.
Yeah, so essentially, now that teleport away Vorpal counterplay we were talking about isn't really an option, because if he is off on his own, he is eternally slowed and constantly waiting for the cooldown of his teleport up. So now, having that kind of resource, it makes Zeratul almost Tassadar style play. He has to second guess every initiation due to now you know he's going to have the reveal and the slow encasing him afterwards. So
yeah, true. Malfurion will be a beast for Psalm to deal with. He also has the scouting drone as well. Nukes are up. 2 warheads still left available, and Superstars really wants to get those because Tempostorm were in place to be able to get 2 on their own.
Looks like they're going to let Urho pick up that warhead. Psalm doing work here up on top. Should be able to confirm the rest of that fort. 2-1 in terms of warhead possession. Gilly, I will say this much. Tempo's strategy without the Illidan, far less intimidating. Like, they would be looking to end the game around this moment, or at least getting keeps, right? Like, they almost always were looking to get keeps.
Yeah, they definitely would have started a boss, but they also, well, they've got a level lead.
I mean, they're winning.
It doesn't feel like they've gotten as much of a lead where they felt confident just brazenly taking a boss at the same time.
No, I mean, I do think that it's a little bit of Superstars playing well. Oh, Hosty's down.
And definitely the Abathur 2 plays a part in that.
Yep.
Scaling up, not having the Illidan, but now they've gotten a fair amount of picks between the 2 on Iacona, now taking out Falstad.
And now they're going to make that play happen. Superstars completely understand. They go on to the bottom half of the map. And we find ourselves with the trading of bosses.
The good news for Tempostorm is, although they only have the 1 nuke, they still have no fort to go through, and they have used the Mule to heal up the bottom fort. So Superstars are going to have to expend a lot to make sure that they can get the same amount as Tempo Storm out of their boss.
Superstars, what are they going to do here? It is a tense moment. This is, remember the last game, last series, responding to a losing situation? This is one of those ones where it really kind of tests, yeah.
Looks like keep Dahaka with the boss.
Yeah, just Dahaka's going to stay his way down there.
The rest of the team going back to defend. Tempo Storm through the nuke, but otherwise are A-okay with leaving the boss to his own devices. Yoda's still hanging out with his boss. Som's going to get there first, but the rest of Tempo Storm are actually going to push in mid, so just favoring trying to open up the battleground and get a bigger experience advantage in this mid game.
13 talent here is pretty nice, but 16 is always the huge one. So many spikes on this roster. Trying to figure out, other than Abathur's 13, and maybe Greymaine's. Greymaine's is a lot. Like, for being a utility 13 with the disengage increased range on initiation for both the Worgen and, again, the disengage, it's huge. So I would say only mainly here for those two heroes, but Superstars has a different story, though. Falstad's 13 really kind of sets him apart from everybody else. The Boomerang suddenly becomes off a cooldown every, like, 3 seconds.
Ice Block is pretty nice for Malfurion.
Yeah, that's a tool that we expect Iacona to try and use to help those dreams.
Cassia, we see a lot of different 13s, so we'll see what she picks there.
Delay number 1 here from Urho. Zeratil's capturing things up there on the bottom half of the map. Just gonna go ahead and secure himself the first warhead.
Yeah, the rotations from Tempo Storm, again, show how comfortable they feel on this battleground. It seems like every time there's a warhead phase, they are on top of where they need to be to make sure that they at least trade out, if not get an advantage with the warheads. And then because of the constant good rotations as well, and they're split pushing, even though it's Superstars who have Dahaka, Tempo Storm have still been able to get more structurally, and that is only going to be increased now that Abathur is getting stronger. But Stray has been caught. Caterpillar trying to bring her down. The blinds keep her alive for a really long time, and in fact, Som goes down.
And then he stays alive. Cassio's left alive through that cocoon. I'm going to be honest, the fact that Superstars even killed the cocoon allowed him to actually possibly die. I was so scared. But Superstars, they live. I don't even understand. I was going to commend Som for how he played the beginning of that fight. He had a beautiful flank. He opened it up flawlessly. He dodged skill shots from Saray the minute that he was looking to rebuttal, but nobody else got enough damage to lock down the kill, and one blind was enough. Now Superstars move up through bottom. Saray again, the blind, the sanctification, keeping him up.
That gust was really good too, kept Stray alive. Superstars still have one more nuke if they want to use it, but they would rather just being able to take out this keep.
Seems like it's too late now. Urho is the man who has the plan, or at least the warhead. Root's going down. Yoda
catches. Divine Shield. This time.
They're going to turn this fight.
Oh, man.
Look at that mule doing work on the backside there. They want that down so bad. Loon's Grace can hit that if the minions are willing to move up. They throw down the cocoon. Tempo was once...
What? The warhead? Sray, the pressure is there. Blind lands. Does he go down? Fury is dead. 2 for 2. In the end of it all, we got a lot of warheads. We had a lot of fireworks, but we only got 2 kills.
That was some bootleg fireworks. I was very confused about why that was used there. It wasn't used...
The old dud.
It wasn't used on the keep. When they had it down lower,
I know why it was
up against
used.
The mule.
I know it was just panic.
Yeah,
it was like,
oh, they're going to initiate. We're going to lose this fight. Like, they're
Right.
going to die fastest, but if we can keep them here, they'll want to retreat because of this warhead.
But it was not as dire as we made it out to be at first glance. The warhead not necessary.
Unfortunately, Superstars pushed in, lost a couple. They did get a couple of kills too, but they pushed in and they are against Mule, so that keep is healthy.
I know, and that's why I want to say, Gilly, there's no world where Superstars should walk up that keep and say, we are willing to risk only one warhead to get this because of the Mule. Now, if there was no Mule, I can understand that because I agree with them, that they shouldn't need both, but you just don't take risks like that against a Mule. You go, yep, no, this is going to die 100%, especially things like keeps where it will gain you an advantage for the remainder of the game. This isn't just a, oh, we need to catch up in XP. This is flat out, we can manipulate this map to win the game if we get this resource, and now they will not. The keep back at full HP.
Oh, that is rough for Superstars that they were not able to take out that keep. That would have been possibly being able to end the game with the boss. But still, we have another Warhead phase, and it's another 4 phase. Superstars trying to hold on to their positioning around this double spawn here, but Tempo Storm are ready to fight. Stray hoping that he can get Airho out of the cocoon, and he does. Void Prison in the back.
Malfurions managed to survive, though, and now the Sanctification's going to buy the time. Divine Shield's used. Keep in mind, we still have Twilight Dream available. Psalm is dead, and now the Burrow charge away allows Fury to keep up here.
It was a really good flank from Hosty to make sure he could get the kill on Psalm.
June?
Superstars are going to continue this chase.
They were at least flexing like they were going to for a moment. They have 2 warheads. They have 3 warheads, excuse me. They have a warhead up through mid that they are inevitably going to be able to pick up. 4 warheads, a 13-minute boss, 16 talent tier.
66 seconds until Void Prison.
And that sounds like a GG, at least enough to be able to get a keep. Actually, I don't think so. The Void Prison will be up by the time that it gets to a core. There's how long bosses take to move.
They're pretty slow.
Yeah, they are. You know, big old boys there. And it's only 13 minutes in.
4 nukes.
But see, if the warheads are used before they get to the keep, and the keep is dead before the boss is needed, and there's 2 warheads available. So essentially 2 warheads and a full HP boss can end this game, but less than that is not as reliable. And again, that void is all we need to be concerned about. And Urho going down is huge! The Holy Ground splits them. Can they get the rebuttal fight? June
Bolt Lightning.
Cattle manages to disengage and survive, but at least it's a 1-for-1 here for Superstars. That could have been the beginning of the end.
Coffin Lux now going to have the clone dropped. Fury hoping he can pick up that nuke.
See,
but the boss is getting on the keep. They need to get in
Hosty is
here.
the only one who can pick up that warhead. Now that Saray's used his, more can. The boss is taking free damage. Fury zoning off of the wing condition back there.
Saray continuing to put damage onto the keep as the keep goes down. Boss is at 3/4 health.
There's
One
warhead.
nuke has been dropped on the core. Superstars step forward. They're going to abandon that nuke. Finally, they're way more focused on just trying to take out the core, but Void Prison is back up.
Sanctification's not going to be there forever. Gust is used very early.
Psalm!
The Psalm can't get off the Void Prison because of the drag, and they are going to be able to end it. That was a miracle plays there at the end.
Ooh,
Yoda!
Man.
Superstars wins the video game.
The last 7, 6, 5 minutes of that game got nuts.
Man, what was going on there? The fact that they were able to get that fight, win it so dominantly. Gilly, we have an actual series. I mean, that was Warhead. That was where we're expecting Tempo to be so convincing.
The drafting was good from Superstars.
It was. It wasn't the direction I expected them to try and get the punishment into the Illidan, but it was very apparent that Tempo was like, we just expect you to let Illidan go all the way through this draft, or at least into past the second ban phase. And when that was taken away, then the Tyrael was denied as the last pick. Tempo was like, snap Zeratul, I guess. And Psalm, I would argue, is a bit of the reason why they were struggling there. A lot of initiations. I don't know. I feel like he had good initiations, but he was the reason they were dying. So I can't tell. I'd have to watch the VODs. I can't tell if that's like a lack of supporting to Psalm, because his initiation and thought process was always right, but it just always was getting him killed.
Superstars had some amazing plays between a lot of the members, man. I got to shout out Hosty, his Falstad play, and then Yoda, of course. Yoda's Dahaka, we know that that is fantastic. Getting Psalm, catching him at the end, knowing that that was a way of being able to stop the game from ending for Superstars. Superstars take game 2, and that means we are all tied up as we head into the commercial break. We'll be back.